and hello and welcome to OSW Playlist Volume 7! Yes, I've run out of Simpsons clips to give you, so just gonna have to look at my visage instead. Anyway, we got two whopper things to talk about. This is OSW Playlist. It's where I tell you what I've been doing and playing over the last month. Usually kept it 10-15 minutes, and I get everything done, recorded and edited and uploaded all in one day, so it doesn't interfere with OSW editing. So, what have we got for you? Two things, I tells you. The first one is coming up is Thomas was alone.
As the water began to rise, Claire vowed to save this little rectangle in as many restarts as it took. This would not do. John needed room to show off his exceptional skills. As it was, he was trapped on the wrong side of these little dot things.
Okay, I gotta switch over to the Sennheiser 835. Yeah, nice, smooth jazz voice here. First up is the 2D indie puzzle platformer, Thomas Was Alone. The name always reminds me of the scullery maid from Tom and Jerry. Thomas! Get that mouse! Mammy Two Shoes is her name. I'm certain that 1940s character was crazy racist. Shout out to all of our bras named Thomas.
Thomas was alone. Wow, a weird first thought to have.
Created by one dude, Mike Bithell, originally made in a game jam, which is when you crunch period create a whole game in 24 hours, and released as a flash game in October 2010, with a fully realised version hitting the virtual stores in April 2013. It's on every platform you could think of: Windows, OS X, Linux, Vita, all last gen and current gen consoles, except for the Switch, and I'm sure it will be soon, and not GOG.com for some reason. The loneliness was getting to Thomas. No amount of excessive note-taking could combat that. The game is set inside a computer mainframe. When I say mainframe, I mean a level that looks like something straight out of Pitfall on the C64, where some event has caused the emergence of AI. You are one of those, Thomas, who's simply a red rectangle and thinks aloud what's happening to himself. On your journey through 9 worlds with 10 levels each, you get to meet more AI shapes, each with different platform solving abilities. By the way, these are all rudimentary pixel shapes, as you can see here, usually rectangles, and if you've been a good boy, you might even get a square.
Chris took an immediate and deep dislike to the skinny red rectangle. Who the hell did this Thomas think he was?
Oh, look there. There's a nice pack of cigarettes formation. Love it. What smokes is Thomas? You can't actually hear any of the shapes. The narrator describes what they're thinking, so the game's charm hinges on his delivery. You might recognise his voice. This is Danny Wallace. He also played Sean Hastings in Assassin's Creed 2. Whopper job. He's a delight. It's kind of Portal-esque to go through these test chambers with some witty dialogue throughout. It's 3-hour playtime. It's 2 hours, but there's some more worlds now with Benjamin's Flight expansion pack. That actually annoyed me that it was tacked onto the main game immediately after World 9 Level 10. You're straight into 10:01. I wanted end credits, you know? Take a break, then extra shit. The characters, which is such a generous term for pixel blocks, all have differing personalities. Generally mildly insecure and neurotic. Chris is a cynical orange square, bitter that he's a worse jumper than Thomas. And he also falls in love with another square. And John is a tall yellow rectangle who can jump really high, so he loves attention. My favourite is Claire, a big blue square that wants to be a superhero. When she finds out she can float, she's like, oh yeah! A hero. A hero in a world of rectangles and conveniently placed pools of toxic water. The game is going up and to the right and reaching the exit. Everyone has different properties to get through increasingly more complex test chambers, and as you play through more of the game, it's an analogy for friendship. Everyone helps each other and everyone gets through in the end, and that's the only way you can kind of survive and progress. So with each world you get a new AI, you get to know them and their foibles. Like James is hung up on being a weird colour, green, and his disregard for Newtonian laws. His gravity works opposite, so you get a bit of Super Mario Galaxy upside down platforming. And Laura is a bouncy rectangle on the ground. I love her immediate snarkiness. It's like, you're just like all the others, bounce on me and leave when my back is turned. And then the next level starting off has 3 dudes bouncing on top of her. There's a ton more, but I just gotta mention Purple Dot Sarah can double jump, as in you jump and then you jump in midair. That's such video game bollocks. Like, I appreciate it from a mechanic point of view, but let me get some extra leverage in midair, that's bollocks. Boo!
Chris was in love. She was perfect. He had to tell her so. Probably best to wait for a moment the large, ominous pixel cloud wasn't about, though. Yeah, probably best to wait.
This bit about Claire. Spikes were her kryptonite, not the rubbish red one, but the proper green stuff. It's like red kryptonite. Hilarious. In the comic books, Batman made red kryptonite by radiating regular green kryptonite in case Superman ever went rogue, and Ra's al Ghul stole it. It made Superman transparent and dulled his super senses, so it kinda sucked. My favourite moment was in level 510, where you find out that Thomas and James are equal weight but opposite gravity. Minor spoilers, but you know, every level has a different idea, and so, you know. But this bit means that you can scooch in midair. I went, oh, holy shit, awesome. So, the main game is only 2 hours long and an extra hour with more AI. You've got the narration, the platform puzzler, but there's one big thing I've yet to mention, and I've been hearing it throughout the entire review. The score, gosh, it's so wondrous. It's a serene mix of piano, beats and pixel bleep bloops. It's kind of what you'd think of what modern video game music would sound like if they didn't go into mainstream cinema scores or get bands to produce the music. It's hopeful and thoughtful, and the bleeps and bloops make it sound like an SOS call into the ether. It's a somewhat adaptive soundtrack in that depending on which character is in the level, they have their own musical instrument, so that's kind of like Breath of the Wild in Tarrytown, where the Goron comes in and you get that trumpet, party trumpet. So Thomas was alone. It's a fun, easygoing playthrough, very much an indie title, mechanic-based puzzle platformer with charming narration. Nothing revolutionary or must-see, but it's got a ton of heart, and if nothing else, listening to the OST for 3 hours is worth the price of entry. It's amazing that a game would get you to care about these little pixel shapes. Thomas Was Alone is available for £8 on all modern platforms except Switch and GOG for the moment. Yeah, recommend checking it out, and if you do, let me know what you thought. Rock on!
Chris wondered if Thomas was still alive somewhere. He wasn't going to go looking for him, but he did wonder, and that showed character. Probably.
It's Muppets Tonight with our very special guest star, Jason Alexander! Yay!
It's the Muppets review, yay! Was curious to see what a Muppets live show would be like. Outside Muppets Tonight, which started in 1996, I haven't seen them in years. Muppets Tonight, a load of Muppets, and they are scrambling to put on a show. That's the gimmick of the show. I love puppets, you might have guessed, with the Foxy Stoat puppets in the Golden Noggers 2018. I went with my buddy Kelly, who helped me with the review. We chat about it afterwards, and so I'm going to kind of present the thoughts here. We went on July 14th, the third show in 2 days, and the O2 Arena in London was about 4/5 full, so geez, it is making bank. As I was saying, Muppets Take the O2 is very similar to a TV episode of Muppets Tonight, that they're scrambling to put on a show. They're like, stretch, like what would, so what are they don't really have anything planned, so what are you going to do? Stretch. Sorry for the lack of footage, as I kind of sat back and enjoyed it, but here's what I found on YouTube. Muppets in general, it's written for kids, so it's not sharp, but the audience got a good chuckle. It's mostly, here's a bad joke, apologise for the bad joke, move on, you know, like Gonzo and the chickens leave and Kermit says, oh, that's a paltry excuse. Oh, I can't believe I just said that either. Well, I enjoyed that. The characters are so iconic that it's very easy to get a laugh. Like, imagine if Mr. Burns started performing, you'd be half laughing already. Cleverly, they had Statler and Waldorf voice and joke about any legit smarky problems you might have with it. Like, the Muppets have gone meta. They should have been better. They just kind of give out about their own show, innit? I love those guys. Hopefully, OSW still going in 70 years, just like these guys. As an adult, I enjoy the kayfabe-based children's show, but I focused a lot on the production because we were behind the TV rig, looked to be at least like 12 cameras. It was being taped, but also the puppeteering. It's wildly impressive. It's interesting to see where the Muppets cut off. It's usually only half or less of a whole puppet, if that makes sense. So only what they need for TV, and it depends on the relative height of the Muppets as well. And the puppeteers are dressed in all black like the Omen, and if a Muppet is walking, they come out on these kind of go-kart tricycles to try get in and out. Since they're also voicing the characters, they're like ever-present ninjas. It's so impressive, especially for Miss Piggy's big number. They had 4 people simultaneously bringing her to life, between voicing her, moving her arms and also her legs, and her jumping, being thrown around the stage. The choreography was so smooth, very little room for error. It's incredible, like you forget that she's just a lifeless puppet made of felt. The whole show was tailored to the O2, not just the expected Mick Foley cheap pop name drops, but Rolf, the dog Muppet, had a rendition of Johnny Cash's I've Been Everywhere, but using London place names. A couple of guests like the 5th Doctor, Peter Davidson, his skit with pigs in space, the state of it. But Adam Hills, who has a Channel 4 comedy talk show, The Last Leg, did a cooking skit with Swedish chefs. Holy shit, his comic timing was impeccable. Best part of the whole show, and I'd never seen him before.
I'm so excited. I even learned Swedish. I was such a big fan of yours, and then I worked out that I don't speak Swedish very well. And then I worked out that you don't either.
He'd play off Swedish Chef, who was smitten, he had a fan. The skit was Swedish Chef wanted to make haggis with a live Muppet lamb. And they had these kind of IKEA instructions, and in the end the lamb got a mace and hit Swedish Chef and beat him up. So, I don't know, 10 out of 10. Bobby Moynihan from SNL was a human co-host, and he was like a cheap Jack Black. Pleasant but no jokes, get out. It's a proper variety show, dozens of live skits, huge range in quality, but there are also these tight pre-recorded skits, which are really well done. I'm sure they'll be on TV in the future. My favourite was their Netflix spoofs, The Walking Bread, which is where Swedish Chef turns zombie bread into toast. Yeah! My favourite Muppets are Seymour and Pepe. They're like Ren and Stimpy, but a failed double act. Pepe has now got a big-time producer gimmick, and Seymour has dropped completely, which made me sad. I know this happened years ago, but it's like Sean after dropping Marty. Seymour didn't even feature in the Forgotten Muppets section. There's a ton of musical numbers, mostly cover songs, parodies. Hilarious to see how hard they push their original songs, because that's where they get the mayonnaise. It's usually parodies. Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, they got 3 songs, and the only Muppets to have their own merch. They're Roman Reignsing it. It's amazing.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side?
Final thought, I love Miss Piggy and her undeserved massive star gimmick, and there's a couple of fat jokes in there as well. It's funny to see the host Kermit be so accommodating and subservient to her, so servile, despite the fact that he is the main event. He's got Rainbow Connection, which is bigger than everything else on the Muppets. But he's so humble and quiet, despite he's the king. Bobo the Massive Bear, who's like a Muppet John Goodman, he kind of crosses between sketches, asking to find his car keys, and he's like, hey, Kermit, you gonna play a bit of Rainbow Connection? He's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it, yeah. He did, and the place turned into the Bray Wyatt entrance. Really cool. Oh man. Overall, really impressed. Ton of work put into the show. Being able to appreciate it in kayfabe and shoot was cool as well. If you're a fan of the Muppets as a kid, I'd recommend going to see them as a production performance. You know, it's really impressive. They tour across America and have started doing some shows overseas. Give it a go. Yay!
Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the walkers, the dreamers, and me.
Well, that does it for episode 7 of OSW Playlist. Another pair of mushrooms in the OSW hitbox, if you will. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've any thoughts, feelings, or comments about Thomas Was Alone, please let me know. I got feedback telling me they watched Gerald's game, and I was like, thanks, Jay, for that scarring mental image from last time. Please let me know who's your favourite Muppet in the comments section below. Thank you so much for all your support. You guys keep us going. Oh man, we got a lot of lovely words about our new Nogger U film review, Jurassic Park. Hold on to your butts. If you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. Coming up on OSW is the debut of Narcissus, episode 74, Royal Rumble 93. And then our next Nogger U film review, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Catch it in a month for August's OSW playlist. See you in the funny pages, and remember, a winner is you.